Good evening. Hello. Welcome and yeah, welcome back, I guess. Uh, Took a week off. That was not intended. Not super intended at all, actually. But it happened. So Tally and I were away at Emerald City Comic Con last weekend. Just briefly, because there's only so much you can do at a comic convention with a 6-month-old baby, and we were not actually intending to make a huge weekend of it. We just Tally was asked to do a panel down there, so we went down and she did that, and that was good. And we hung out with some friends for a little bit over the day, and then we were gone from the comic convention, never to be seen again. Because my goodness, yeah, it's a busy thing, being at a comic convention, and with baby, it's quite a lot. So got a lot of like comments like, getting them while they're young and things like that, and that was really not the intention. I'm not trying to indoctrinate our child to be a nerd. That actually kind of disturbs me. I don't know. Have you seen stuff like this? I saw a PAX panel one time. It was like how to get your kid into nerdy stuff, and I that's not really what I'm trying to do. I really want her to make her own path in the world and figure that stuff out on her own. She doesn't necessarily have to like the stuff that I like, just because I like it, and probably the fact that I don't like or that I like it means that she won't like it. So there you go. Anyway, so welcome back. So yeah, I was at Emerald City Comic Con last week, and I was gonna do a stream on Thursday, but Tally was feeling sick on Thursday night, so I canceled that so that we could get to bed early and take care of ourselves, which is very important. Always want to do that. Before we get back to what we were doing, last time I made one small tech improvement since last week. I guess two small tech improvements. I've been changing up the way that our internet works because I think that our router was bad. And while I was like trying to talk to the modem and get it out of bridge mode, which has been a whole thing, I pulled out our old Ethernet adapter for the MacBook Air, and I was like, oh yeah, I have this, and so I'm just hooked directly up to the Ethernets now. So wired internet connection, maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll make things a little better, a little smoother. One can only hope. The other thing, I guess, so like two things. One, we're not behind that awful router anymore, and two, we might a wired internet connection might help. I'm not sure. Really, I think that the choke point is going to be the processor load on this old computer, but we'll see. The other thing that I figured out is that Chrome, or that Twitch, runs really well in Chrome. I had never used it in Chrome. I'd only ever used it in Safari, and the other day I couldn't get something to work, and I was like, what if I tried it in Chrome? It looks so much better. So yeah, that's also interesting. So chat, you are running in Chrome today, as opposed to Safari. So feel free to gobble up all my memory. That has been my experience with Chrome. It gobbles up all the memory, and it uses up all the battery life. We're plugged in, and well, definitely memory is something that is in short supply. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna turn on some music, and then we will get right back into what we were doing. Let's go for perfect. We are going to listen to an ad, apparently. That's not very nice. Not appreciative of that. Let's keep going. Good. What? 2 ads? Oh, no. I'm sorry. Skip. Okay. That's better. That's what I wanted. So... Give you guys the screen. Oh my gosh, there's all sorts of stuff on the screen. Card Kingdom orders. I sold a bunch of Magic cards. that was good. Needed to happen. So yeah, let's open Xcode. As I like continue to drag my feet. It's always weird when you like go into a project and you haven't worked on it in a couple weeks. It's like, what was I even doing? As you can see, we have a bunch of uncommitted changes that we should probably resolve at this point. And use this as an opportunity to recap what we were doing last time. So, where we ended last week, or 2 weeks ago, is we were just changing the general styling of a lot of stuff so that it was a little bit more consistent throughout the app. Do not want to build with the iPad. We're going to build with iPhone SE. I had an issue at work this week. Not so much an issue. I was doing a bunch of tests for ARKit stuff, and I wanted to use the iOS 11.3 beta. So I wanted to use it specifically on a device that had 2 cameras, ideally, but I couldn't. They were all booked out by various people, and so it like took forever to get one. So I was like, oh, fine, I'll just install 11.3 on my phone, like my personal phone, and start doing tests on that. But now I can't like build to my phone from like normal Xcode. I can only build to it from Xcode, the Xcode beta, which is a problem because the project that I'm working on at work actually requires changes to work in that, because Swift has been updated just like a little bit. And that is causing no end of grief. So I have to like build to my iPad now. It's annoying. Okay. So yeah, we made some changes at the end of last time. We'd spent most of it working on the draw view carousel to try and clean it up a little bit. So as soon as this starts running, we generally change the color theme of the app to be darker, and have cards like show up, not lighter against it, but so that's still white, but this is black now. And now when we draw, the cards look like that, and they've got sort of a purple glowy thing around them. We can dismiss them like so. Now, one thing that I had left in place last time, but I changed like right after I went offline. I realized, okay, well, I can do it at the same time, was the timing with which the cards move as a new card is drawn. I had it happening like after the card was drawn, but I switched it up to happen at the same time, which I think is going to be helpful. So, I mean, it would be really nice to actually like move the cards out as this one becomes like bigger, but I think it's okay. We've got the illusion that it comes sort of forward as opposed to like growing, which I guess is correct here. This is all looking pretty nice. Good. Oh, and actually, I just got the art for the moon from Ash, so actually, we can import that as well today. So let's go back to Tower here, and just... So we just generally made changes to the card view to clean things up a little bit. So this is basically what we changed here. Instead of presenting the card and then moving the collection view in its completion handler, we are now moving the collection view as we present the card, which is better. So Scroll, draw, view, carousel while presenting card view. And we bumped the build number because I pushed out another build. Okay, that's done. So there are two things that I really wanted to start working on. One of them was replacing... Oh yeah, so first of all, actually, let's go back to Face. Hey, Face. I'm just going to open my email for a second, which you do not get to see. And there's the email from Ash. I'm just going to write her a quick response. I'm literally putting this into the app on stream right now. Emoji. This one. That emoji. You don't get to see it because it's my email. I'm sorry, it's personal. I don't know what you might accidentally see were you to see the email, but pretty sure I don't want you to see it. All right. Quitting mail. Giving you back the screen. All right, back on the screen. So let's get the moon art in there. Cards. So I have them capitalized. Amazing. Just actually have a look at that. Look at that. Looks amazing. We got like multiple layers of transparency here. We've got sparkly stars. We've got like little halos around stars. It's like got beautiful purple accents in it. It's amazing. Ash is doing such fantastic work on these cards. I just cannot believe it. It's cool. It's also like, I think it's cool because if you look at like Ash's comic, this is not like sort of her normal wheelhouse. This is like some different content, which is very, very cool. It's neat when people get to do stuff that is a little bit outside their normal day-to-day. Ash, of course, is the writer and illustrator for Mega Cynics. It's maybe like silly to try and get the moon here, but to shoot the moon. Okay, we also need to fix this because this card is called Gem, but it is clearly not the gem. Star, Rogue, Still 2 draws remaining, and we still haven't died or found the moon. All right. Well, we will find it later. I need to fix that as well. So gem is fine. I think what we want is fool, maybe. It's not idiot. It could be jester. Title gem. There we go. Noticed that before and just never corrected it. Okay, let's commit those. Add moon illustration. Commit. Fix jester copy. Okay, so back to what we're doing. So there are 2 things that I would like to work on for the draw view here. One of them is replacing this button with something a little bit more interesting. Specifically, I want to create the sort of what I've been calling the like Hearthstone card fan. So that you've got like a fan of cards that you can like drag back and forth and then maybe tap on or drag cards out of to select them. That's one. And then the other one is some sort of more intuitive dismiss. So that like here you've got balance, which is great. But ideally you'd be able to like swipe this and dismiss it as opposed to having to click this X all the way up in the corner. Because it's all the way up in the corner, and if you're on like an iPhone Plus of some sort, then you could end up having to. It still says gem. Did I not build? I guess I didn't build. Yeah, you could end up having to like reach all the way up to the top, which is no fun. So ideally, we would create some sort of interaction on the card to allow it to be dismissed, swiped away, in the way that you have no doubt seen on many, many other iOS apps. I also think that this X button, as it turns out, is too small. Probably need to increase the size of that. Hold out hope we'll see the moon at some point, but we haven't seen it yet. Okay. So let's do one of these, and I think what we're going to do is the cards, which I consider to be the more challenging one of those 2. So on the draw view controller, we're going to add a second collection view. I guess we'll start with it on the... So I'm going to refactor this and rename it to... carousel view. And the reason for that is just that that's what it is, and we want to add a second collection view to this view. So I'm just going to commit that immediately. So next we want to add a second collection view. And I'm just going to give it the same properties as the first one that we put in, but we will call it the fan view. I guess it doesn't need these. And it doesn't need this. Okay. So the stack has two views. We're ultimately getting rid of this button, but we're not going to do it yet. Actually, we may as well just get rid of it. We'll live dangerously. At this point, there's not much point in having a stack either. Right, okay, so I had the stack set at 25% of the height of the view. I think what I'm going to do is anchor that top leading trailing. Anchor the label top leading trailing. And anchor the fan top leading trailing as well. So ideally, that means that our carousel view will be anchored at the top up here, and then it will have its size set by the size of its cells, and the label will be anchored under that, basically where it is now. But then underneath the label, the fan view will be anchored down here. I don't know if that's the way that we're going to do it. Probably we're going to move this label to the top would be my guess. That seems correct. But we'll leave it like this for now, just to see how it looks. Okay. Oh, it's extra white space. So then in our draw view controller, comment that out for now. Okay, so for our data source, we're going to say switch on collection view. And if it's case draw view dot carousel view. And then if we have the fan view, yeah. Need to put that in because this is not an enumerator. This is just a. This is basically just type matching. So it says if it's the carousel view, we want the cards that we've already drawn, and if it's the fan view, we want the cards that we have yet to draw. Okay, so for this one, we're going to do exactly the same thing. Tighten this up a little bit. I think what I'm gonna do is create my cell, use the same cell in either case. So we'll guard there exactly the same as we would. So now we want we're gonna make each one based on that. That's gonna be nil. That's gonna be nil. It's not gonna be hidden yet. And we made some changes to the card cell. I don't remember exactly how it ended up being laid out. Okay, so it's just the image view and the label. So if I set the background color, set it to red for now. It's gonna look awful. Set it to purple for now. This is ideally gonna be a card back or something at some point. I guess it doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter what the card is for laying this out, so that's fine. We'll just do that. Default. Just return the cell, whatever it is. I'm going to actually set the background color here, because it doesn't have a default associated with it, so it will just stick as purple. It could get reused in both these collection views, I think. I'm not entirely sure if you've got two different collection views in the same view that actually use the same kind of cell, if they will share cells, but it's always the possibility that they could, so set this background to black. Okay. This looks pretty good. Okay, so did select is going to be different for the two of them. Okay, so first of all, so did select if it's our if it's the carousel view, we do what we were doing before. If it's the fan view, we're going to start a draw. Start draw requires a button. We're going to get rid of that. In fact, we're going to move it out of actions. Because it's no longer associated with a button. Okay. Actually, we don't even need this really anymore, so I guess we kind of do. It'll give us like some weird functionality, but it'll be enough to test to make sure everything's working. Okay. And here, if... Let's do this first. So if the collection view... Or if the scroll view... drawView.fanView. If it is drawView.fanView, we want to just return out of this. We don't want it. Okay. You know what? I'm feeling kind of bad about this business. This should be on separate lines like that. To make things a little more clear. It breaks my heart to have stuff like this, but I kind of want consistency. Okay. Okay, so and then for this one, size for item index path is correct. And we don't have... So if the collection view is a fan view, we want to return UI edge inside 0. Okay. And then after running the draw, we want to Okay, so what have we changed? Ideally, we're now going to have a... Sorry. So, we're now going to, ideally, assuming everything works, we're now going to have a collection view down here instead of this button. And clicking on any of the cards should start the draw. And then when we run out of draws, clicking on one of the cards should dismiss and go back. The cards should be the same size as these cards. There should be a number of them equal to the number of cards in the deck. As we draw cards, there should be fewer cards here. We're not yet drawing specific cards out of here, but we'll see. See what happens. That was quite a bit to change without testing anything, but Feels like it was kind of necessary to get it all kind of in place. Let's watch something like break hugely, but yep. Boom, crashed. Yeah, thank you, Xcode. I got it, figured it out. Drop you. Okay, well, it turns out we need to add views to our hierarchy to actually use them. Otherwise, layout causes crashes. Let's try it again. I may be a little bit more low-key today. I have been off caffeine for 2 weeks now. Okay. Well, that's not good. Oh, okay. So I see what's happening here. The label, I'm now laying out with constraints, but I was not doing that before. And I did not have auto resizing masks turned off on them, so... Okay. Interesting. So neither carousel's showing up, which is not super good. And... yeah. Not great. Okay, I see what was going on here. So I actually do need to provide a height for this, or it will not work. Okay. So that's back down to the bottom, but it's actually like way closer to the bottom than it was. Which implies what? Just for kicks. Let's start with some cards drawn. Just to make it lay out some cards in there. Make sure that's still working. Okay. Okay. So that's obviously broken. I guess because I had the because I had the stack taking up 25% of the area. It's not the same as having this take 75% because there's like unused area, unsafe area. So we might need to do our hard-fought transition calculations again. Okay, so these cards are showing up. Even if this transition now does not look good. We can fix that. So why is this one not showing up? Could be because it doesn't have a height. Just drop the size of that down a little bit. The idea is to have the fan view going off the screen a little bit. So, well, going off the screen a lot. So closer to what we had before. Did we crash? Why are we not interactive? We literally just changed the size of things. Oh. Yeah, that would do it. Okay, so drop this back to 0.6. So I think we were putting the fan view in front of the carousel view, and that's what the problem was. That's why the carousel view behind it appeared to be non-interactive, because there was the fan view sitting in front of it. Yeah, okay, so that fixed that. That doesn't look as horrible anymore, but it's still like a little off. And we don't have any cards in our carousel view, which is bugging me. Let's take a look at this. So yeah, our fan view just has no cards in it. Okay. It's okay though. We know it's in the right place. And Xcode crashed. Back we go into Xcode. RV Leshrak, I think you've got a worse gig than I do right now. You want them processed in order, or you want to make sure that they are all processed before? Because there's no point in doing them asynchronously if you want them processed in order. Do you just want them all, like, isn't there like an operation queue you can set up to do that? Or am I like underthinking this? Okay, so on iPhone SE. So I'm not sure. I didn't mute your screen. I'm still getting levels. I was just saying, can't you use an operation queue of some sort to do that? Not knowing how to use Swift's operation queues the first time I had to use them, or Objective-C's, I'd never really done a lot of parallel work. Right. I just set up my own little dictionary method that was like, would put all of my various operations in a dictionary, and then like each operation would check through the dictionary to make sure all the operations were done before it, continued. But that was a silly bandito way of doing things when there was an API just right there ready for me to use. And I think everyone does stuff like that. Okay, so in our DrawView controller, why are we not getting cells? So number of items in section. We're getting 0 cards. Yeah. Thanks, Xcode. I was unaware that you quit unexpectedly. What? Okay, so this can go away, I guess. So where is our deck getting set up? I would like to know. It's in the initializer, so that should be set already. So it's never asking for how many cards should be in that carousel. What does that mean? We know the carousel is... We know the collection view is there. Xcode. This is not going to work between us if you keep crashing like this. I'm sorry. It's not acceptable behavior. Oh, that's no good. Did not realize that. I realize Track is just reporting that if you have a stream muted and switch tabs, then it will pause it. That might be Chrome's new thing. Chrome has some new stuff that is supposed to freeze tabs and whatnot that are not that are taking up memory but are not active. It's actually like really good. I think Chrome has needed that for a long time, but it's kind of potentially a brute force way of doing it. Okay, so did we never... Oh, I'm an idiot. All right, I got it. I figured it out. I forgot to set up the delegate. I forgot to set up the delegate. Okay, so... So we need to do all these same things. For the fan view. That's why it's not asking the delegate method for anything, because it does not have a delegate. Also, delegation. Welcome to 1985. It was high tech once. Oh, okay. Getting too caught up in my criticism of a code base that was founded on great technology from the 1980s, which is a great decade. Many good things were created in the 1980s, including me, especially me. My daughter was born in 2017, which is crazy. I used to think it was crazy that kids were born in like the 90s. It's like, oh my gosh, that kid was born in 1999. That kid's a baby. Hey. Okay, so ideally this should be decrementing as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh no. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it just 3? It's just 3 cards. 19 plus 3 is 22, which is the number of cards we want. Yes, we got it. Okay. Good. Yeah, the I'm an idiot moment is like the classic programmer moment. It is perfect. It's exactly what you want to be having. Sort of. Okay, let's see. So this is the first part of our mission is accomplished. We have made... That animation is still jerky. Really? Did it? Did it quit unexpectedly? Like 20 minutes ago. Did it do that? Great. Thank you, Xcode. Thanks. You're awesome. Incidentally, my least favorite thing in macOS is where you get updates, like system updates, and you get a notification up here, and it's like, updates are ready to install, and you're like, okay, what updates do you want to install? So you click on it, and it opens the App Store, and it brings up the like updates tab, but there's no, it doesn't actually show any updates, and then it brings up an alert that's like, some updates need to be installed. Would you like to install them? And it's like, would you tell me which apps want to be updated? That would be really good. And you have to click cancel to see which apps want to be updated. And then you can go update them like one at a time or update all of them at the same time. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Who designed that? Okay, so what we want to do now is fix some stuff here. So I'm going to make these overlap each other first. And the way that I was planning to do that was to now was to set this to a negative number. So like negative 40. Magic numbers everywhere. I just want to see how it looks. We're gonna run? We're gonna do that? Pretty sure I told you to run, Xcode. You'd better run. Okay, that's a little better, but not like a lot better. Yes. Right. Okay. Those are the same size. I feel like negative 40 should have been making a more significant change than that. I was resisting, like, setting a card size constant, but I think that I should be doing that. And then referring to that when I want to set the size of things. That's looking better. Let's start there. I'm like really curious what this looks like on the iPad, but I'm not going to try that because that will break this computer. You'll also see that the Z indexing of these is bad. Because what we need to do is make our own layout for this, our own custom collection view layout. And that is a big pain in the butt, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So, but first, I want to modify this to actually remove the card from the right spot. But first, before I do that, I need to go to the bathroom. So I will be right back. I'm going to take a quick potty break, and I shall resume in a moment. Stand by. Okay, we're back. So, next thing to do, I guess, is going to be to make it so that whichever of these that we click on is the one that gets removed from the stack. Not that that matters an incredible amount, but it kind of is going to matter for the way that we want to set up the animations later. So let's go for the functionality before the form. And then we will set up a custom layout to handle this. Ultimately, we might want to set up a custom layout for this as well to sort of compartmentalize the layout code for it. But I guess we will see how that goes. So yeah, ultimately we will make this fancier, but for right now we'll leave it. Okay, so here, I should make sure that the other part of the functionality that I thought was still there was there. Yeah, it is. So now that we've entirely basically replaced the button with the cards. So if we touch the button when there's no we'd also wait a minute. Did we also figure out that Moon's illustration was not showing up? I'm pretty sure we did figure that out. Right. Because we would have had to put it in here. Okay, so that's working. Of course, we increased our draws accidentally. Draw no more cards, great. So when we draw no more cards, then clicking that makes that go away. Good. All right. So if we go to our So in our draw view controller, when we click on the card, okay, let's just simplify this down to one method. Because like this is silly. That's much nicer. This should do the same thing. So now we're just checking here, and if our number of draws is not greater than 0, or for some reason we can't draw a card from the deck, then we'll just dismiss the view. Which is doing effectively the same thing, because the other method was just basically another guard to get here, which we're already guarding against, so... Good. All right, so that's done. So we actually want to remove, instead of like drawing so we have this set up to draw random cards, which is good, but we don't actually need the randomization anymore. As much as I'm hesitant to lose it, So we can set this to... Because we're not drawing a random card, we're drawing whatever card we click on. And that means that we don't actually... So we do have to draw... We do have to guard against the number of draws being 0. But now we can just say... Because this will always return a card now. If we have an index to draw from. And then we need to say, do the same thing here. And this will be index. Okay, and then here, we should be getting an error. There it is. So instead of just being draw, we need to provide it an index path. And the index path, or the index is going to be index path dot item. And now when we draw, instead of reloading the data, we're going to say fanview dot just want to see how I did this elsewhere. Yeah, okay. Just wasn't sure if I had to do it as part of a batch, but I don't think I do. Index path. Come on, autocomplete. I believe in you. You can do it. You cannot crash Xcode for the 3rd time tonight. Oh, we did it. We got there. At index in section 0. Okay, so... Oh, and this is an array of index paths. So, hopefully, this should now remove the correct card and even go so far as to animate its removal. Which would be real nice if it did that. Did you see it remove itself? I didn't. I know that there's 2 moons here, but that's because I started with a moon up in this spot, so that's okay. See what happens if I slow animations. Watch carefully down here to see if this animates. It did! Something animated anyway. That looked a little weird. What happened there? Oh my gosh! Slow animations ruin everything. Something got removed though, and that's the important thing. Seems unlikely to me that the wrong thing would have gotten removed. It does really look like the card next to it gets removed though, doesn't it? No, I think it's not though. I think it is the correct card getting removed. It's really hard to tell. I guess one thing that I could do we could just hide this view. This is not going to work. Rather, it's going to look super weird, but... yeah, I think it's working. I don't know, it looks a little weird, but... I think it's okay, though. We'll see. Right. So, that's good. So now, I'm just gonna commit this. This commented out stuff can go away. So even while we've like added some functionality, I feel like we've cleaned things up a little bit with this whole drawing business. Who came up with that logic? Some silly person. It's okay, this view controller is like 200 lines long. That's fine. Okay, so... sick tricks. If you want to force tower to reload. Oh, this needs to be reverted. Da, da, da. So It's like add fan view to okay. So now we have this. So now we need to override, or now we need to create a collection view layout to handle what we want to do with this, because for our fan collection view, there are two things that need to, no, more than two. There's multiple things that need to be done to make it work the way that we want it to. Number one is the cards obviously need to look like they're a fan, not just like a bunch of rectangles stacked on top of each other. So we want to like turn them outward and stagger them up and down. And then two, we want to make it so that they like have the right z-axis, because like as soon as we start scrolling back and forth here, you can see that the z-axes get all messed up. So we want them to be consistent, I think. And then like bonus points, we want the cards to be smaller in here, and you know, some other stuff as well. But these are places to start. So what I'm gonna do is, collection view layouts are complicated. There's something that people don't like to deal with. They're very, very powerful, but so I'm gonna try it and see what I get tonight. But you know, if things mess up a little bit, that's what could happen. That's par for the course. I actually canceled that. So I'm gonna subclass UI collection view flow layout. And I'm gonna look at the docs a little bit. Because see, what I want is so UI collection view layout is an abstract class, which means that you never actually instantiate it, you only subclass it. But it has the sort of important things that you need to implement. And this is the big one here. Layout attributes for elements in rect. Hmm. I wonder if that would be an easier way to do it. Let's try this. I'm not sure if this is going to work. This seems like an easier way of doing it. So we'll say let's cell equals collection view. Self-right in my index path. So we'll get the cell center, and then we'll say guard for this. So if there's a cell, wait, no, we don't want the frame from the cell. The frame should be in the layout attributes, right? Right, okay. Does it have a center? It does. Good, okay. Okay, so oh, that's not even optional. That just has to have it. let difference equals collection view. We need to have a collection view. Okay, so let difference equals center layout attributes on center. There we go. X minus layout attributes dot center dot x I want the absolute value of this. Just abs. I don't know if that's the case, but I'll try it. Okay. And then let's just set a vertical transform. CG transform translation x of 0, translation y will be 100 . Okay, so I guess we want to know the percentage of the way out it is. So that would be dot width how bounds is gonna work here. Width divided by 2. Let percent offset equal the difference divided by the collection views width divided by 2. So that should give us the percentage away from the center that the center of the card is. And then The translation. Translation x of 0, translation y is going to be percent offsets times 100, just to pull another arbitrary number out of our butt. And then we'll say attributes dot transform equals transform and return the layout attributes. I don't know if this is gonna work, but give it a shot. Draw view, so this is the fan view, and we want the fan flow layout. Does nothing. Not being called. Not being called at all. Okay. Okay, so we'll say let's one day I will get the syntax right on the first try. So for each set of layout attributes, and then the rest of this should just work, right? So we calculate the absolute value of the difference between the collection view center and the layout attributes, and the center defined by the layout attributes. We calculate the percent offset from the center, and then we apply a transform change. We create a transform, and then we apply that transform back to the layout attribute, and then we just return the layout attributes array. This is the method that I've used every time that I've done this in the past, which is so hazy right now. But let's see if we can at least get it to call this. And then if it doesn't, other options, I suppose. Oh, look, it's doing what we want it to. Well, sort of. So it's not adjusting on scroll, but this is essentially what we want. We want the height of the cards to change based on how far away from the center they are. So that's good. But we do want this to update as the rect changes. Oh, look, this is like basically exactly what we want. feel like there is some sort of very simple part of this that I'm missing. This is doing everything in prepare layout. I would say it's something like collection view. Okay, I'm gonna go look at another one of my old projects. I'm just gonna put you guys in loading mode for a little bit. Or I'll put you on face. I have an old project where I was working on something like this, and so I'll see if I can figure out the answer from there. Sorry, this is not particularly great television, I'm afraid. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Let's go back to screen. Figured it was just something I was forgetting. So in the actual layout, we need to override this and say it should invalidate when the bounds of the collection view change with regard to the content, or with relative to the content. And hopefully this will actually cause it to scroll the way that we want it to. Nope. Did not work. Does nothing. All right, back to face. Oh, interesting. Okay, so what I've done in here is calculated the visible region as opposed to just using the collection view's bounds. This is not being used anymore. So it's possible that do a little bit more work here. So we'll make the origin the content offset of the collection view, so how much it's scrolled. And then we'll give it a size of the collection view's bound size. And then we calculate the distance offset not from the collection view's bounds, but from the visible region. Doesn't have bounds because it's not a view, so we'll just calculate its size. guard. Layout attributes dot frame. Intersect rect. Else continue. So if the we're not going to bother setting the transform if it doesn't intersect with the other with the rec that we're examining here. Okay, let's try this and see what happens. Still doing exactly the same thing. We shouldn't need this because it should be only getting the elements that intersect anyway. This is possible that we just need to override the entire layout. I don't see why we would. Other app that I was doing, I wrote the entire layout myself instead of subclassing flow layout. Which could be wrecking us here. I don't know. I just, Rock Pusher, the code mines they're going. Don't know exactly when you showed up. I was deep in concentration. Things are going okay. I am working on transforming this from a thing that looks like a bunch of rectangles stacked on top of one another into something that looks a little bit more like a card fan. So we want it to not look like this. We want it to look like for right now we will settle for looking like like stairs. Providing those stairs adjust their positions as we... Oh, interesting. Yeah, it really doesn't like what we're doing here. Modifying attributes return away without copying them. Interesting. I mean, we can do that. So let's try. Different kind of layout attributes. So and then we'll say let final layout attributes equal UI collection view. It's an array of collection attributes. Bar final layout attributes. And then final layout attributes. Append layout attributes copy. And we return final layout attributes. And I don't know if this is going to fix our problem, but it will maybe make that warning go away. minus the sections that's top. Hey, behavior UI collection view flow layout is not defined because item height must be less than the height of the UI collection view minus the section insets top and bottom values minus the content insets top and bottom values. The relevant UI collection view flow layout instance of deck of many things fan flow layout and is attached to UI collection view. Blah 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 blah. Clips to bounds equals yes. Gesture recognizers. Content offsets. So this is very curious. Thank you for the resub, Rock, for sure. I appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. I feel like the solution here might just be to write my own layout entirely from scratch, because this is just not working very well. I don't like that, but this is just a big pain in the butt. So maybe that is the correct call here. So I'm very tired, and we are at 9:30. So that means that we need to do this. There's going to be no super call here because it's an abstract. Or maybe there will be a super call. Maybe I'm wrong about that. What? I think that this might not be something to tackle right now. I was hoping that I could just subclass flow layout, but I feel like this is going to be a lot more work. So I'm just gonna leave this as it is right now. And I'm going to do a little bit of research on layouts between now and next week, because I haven't done one in over a year. They are complicated and I'm very tired. So let's come back to this when I'm a little bit fresher and have had time to play around a little bit more with layouts and remind myself how to do them. This is still causing issues, which is interesting. Okay, what was the other thing that I said I wanted to work on? It was moving the cards around. Let's see if we can do that for half an hour. I'm just going to create a new branch and call this fan layout. Commit that for now. Sorry, I know that I was super hyped on getting into this tonight, but I am quite tired, and that is not maybe the time to be tackling something of that caliber. I didn't break that. No, it still seems to be working. So. Let's instead play around in this space. So basically what I want is to be able to swipe my cards off the screen. So we want to be able to drag them around first, and that is the first thing to tackle there. So we already have a gesture recognizer here. I'm going to create another one. And yeah, sometimes it's nice to move on, or move on to something else. I don't like to do that because things are hard. Like, typically I try and be tenacious and stick to things, but this is one of those things where it's like, I knew it well enough a while ago that I was actually able to teach it, and it was no problem. And now it's like, oh, I just do not remember it right now, and it's going to take me forever and like digging through old projects and things like that to figure out how to do it. And it's probably easier for me to just do that off camera and come back when I have the solution and am not going to be, as I say, like opening all my old stuff and notes and stuff like that to figure out how to do it. So I'm going to call this pan card, I guess. I'll try that. And I need to pass in the pan gesture recognizer. And we will say, let's translation. Pan gesture recognizer dot translation. Wait. Switch pan gesture recognizer. So the way the gesture recognizers work is that they have different states. Case dot. So these are the different states that they have. We care most about changed right now, and we'll say I guess we'll do this for began and changed. Any edits I want to do it for? No. So if it begins or changed, I'm going to get the transform. Let transform equal CG affine transform, and we'll do it with translation, and then we'll say that the translation is the pan gesture recognizers dot translation. Right. Okay. So let's say before the switch, we'll say let's translation. Pan gesture recognizer dot translation in view, and I think that just our own view should be fine for this. Hope so, anyway. And then that simplifies this to just translation dot x, one of these, translation dot y, case dot canceled ended failed. All right, should probably apply this. So we'll say, oh wait, this should be card view. Card view dot. I can't actually remember the hierarchy of how we put this together. So there's the dimming view, which contains the shadow view. And it's the shadow view we need to move around, isn't it? It's the shadow view that's actually like Okay. So card view dot shadow view dot transform equals transform. And then here we'll say dot transform equals CGFE transform. Can we just give it an empty one? Okay, so see if this works. So when we pan the card, we need to add this to the shadow view, I guess. Flat container view, that makes sense. Container view dot add gesture recognizer. And this is the pan gesture recognizer. Alright, let's see if that does what we were hoping for. Which is basically that we can drag the card around, and if we let go of it, it snaps back to the middle. Oh, oh crap. We're building my iPad. That's not what I intended to do at all. Stop. Build the SE. And I lost my second monitor again, as per usual. Okay. So yes, ideally, assuming that I've implemented this correctly, this should allow us to drag the card around. Probably mentioned this already, but I like working in transforms as opposed to actually moving views around when I can, especially like because we really want the view to stay in the same place. It's just like it's while the user's dragging it that it appears to move, and then it just sort of goes back. I like to work in transforms when I can because actually moving views around has some baggage associated with it. Okay, so let's see if... Okay, perfect. So we can drag this around now, and then we let go, and it disappears. That's not what I wanted. That no. Okay, so probably it's that empty transform that is getting to me. Could also be the fact that we changed the card views transform to that as opposed to the shadow views transform. Okay. Yeah, exactly. The card was banished to the Shadow Realm. Okay, well, that only caused the card to disappear, so that's something. Let's just try making a translation transform. It's possible that that should never be... that we should never use that initializer. Try that. Good. Okay, that's the behavior that we want. So now what we'll do is do something a little fancy here too. We'll say like so let's see. Just thinking. So the maximum distance the user can pull the card away is this, right? Just the square root of half the view's length squared plus half the view's width squared. So yeah, let's say that that is our maximum. So how do we want to do this? We want to say is that correctly spelled? I'm not even sure. Looks like it's spelled with a Y. So let hypotenuse equal square root of I guess we want we need to do this and we need to refactor this slightly, or do this. We need to factor this more. Let's width equal card view dot bounds dot width height equal card view dot bounds dot height. So let hypotenuse equal square root of right? Hope that's right. Hope I can remember grade 9 math. I don't even think that's grade 9 math. It's like grade 8 math, grade 7 math. So that's the maximum amount of distance that we want. So, and then we want to figure out the translations. The same for the translation. So we want to say let translation width equals translation dot x absolute value of translation x. Let translation height equal abs guess this would be this. In theoretically, this should be run. This should be rise. I'm confident that we can just put run and rise here. And it's gonna be just this. Square root times run plus rise times rise. Okay. And then let's percent maximum distance equals distance divided by hypotenuse. Okay, and then let scale factor equals 1.0 minus 0.1 times percent maximum distance. Here we'll add dot scaled by scale factor. Okay, so assuming that I did this correctly, we should now see this scaled down as it moves outward towards the edge of the screen. Which it might be doing, but it might be too subtle to actually notice. Take it to like its maximum extent. I think it's working. The easy way to figure out if it's working is just to make it way more extreme. Okay, yeah, it's definitely working. It's probably a little too extreme, right? At 0.5. Like, doesn't look like the worst. And actually, I guess I can actually move this up here. This is something I don't feel bad about, like doing lots of calculations and stuff in, because like computers are fast at math. They're very good at that. Let's drop that down to 0.3. Maybe subtlety is better here. Okay, so here, first of all, instead of just doing that, I'm gonna animate it. I'm actually gonna just go right ahead and use the one with options. Curve ease out, animations. We'll do this. Completion handler. I mean, yeah, computers. There are many reasons that computers cannot be good at math, and there are many reasons that you could argue that computers are not actually very good at math. But, I'm gonna give them a pass for today. Okay, so this works, which is great. So now, basically, all I want to do is if I'm going to create a if percent maximum distance is greater than 0 dot, and this is like the big question, but 0.3, I guess. What do we call the action? Dismiss card. So else, dismiss card. Now, this is important. We need to update our dismiss card. This actually already changes the transform of the card. Right? But I think that just for safety I was setting the transform before. Yeah, so I was setting this ahead of that. So let's get rid of that. So basically, because I'm using the scale in both places, I'm hoping that what's going to happen here is or that I'm using transforms in both places, is that it will just smoothly transition from one to the other. So if we drag this off center enough, it will just snap to its new desired location as part of the transition. That is not what happened. I mean, that's not like the worst, but it's not what we wanted. Oh wait, so we're setting it again here. We said it twice before animating. Because we're the smartest. The smartest programmers. Let's try it again. Hey, okay, that's mostly what we wanted. I think I'm gonna have to try it on my phone to make sure that it's like doing what I want, because the animations always look hokey on here. I think the scale is not working. So what's the tolerance on it? That seems pretty good. If we drag it like all the way down there, then it goes away. It might actually, we could actually even give it less tolerance than that probably, but... Okay, well, the animation is still a little bit broken, but this is more or less the kind of behavior that we want. Now, we'll ultimately give it some, maybe some rotation and stuff too. Command T it. See what it's doing. That seems to indicate that it is doing exactly what we want it to do. Except for, look at that. It's underneath the status bar. And then it snaps down. Okay, something's going on there. I think that... Curious. Alright, well, that's something to look into for next time. In general, I'm pretty happy with how things are going at the moment. But I do need to do a little bit more research in collection view layouts before I'm going to be able to get the fan view to work, unfortunately, because that's the way that's going. That said, we are kind of in spitting distance of having the most complicated parts of the app done, at least in some form. So that feels pretty good. Once we have, you know, this stuff worked out and the fan stuff worked out, that's basically all the complicated stuff, and then it's just a matter of getting some more content in and then refining it a little bit. And then actually, you know, doing a design that looks less bad. But yeah, we can cross those bridges when we come to it. I'm gonna need to sign off. I'm already super tired, and we're gonna need to go to bed. As I was mentioning earlier, I've been off coffee for like 2 weeks, and that has been an interesting experience. Typically on days like this, I would have a little bit of coffee in the afternoon, which would keep me going through the evening. I did not do that today, and I felt a little dopey all night, so I apologize for that. But next week is another week. We will continue moving forward and making progress. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me in chat. Those of you who were there, this has been fun, and we will get back on it next Friday for more Deck of Many Things action. Coding action. Fun times. I'm too tired. I should go to bed. Have a good night, folks. I will see you next week.